final 31-man Springbok squad has been announced. The announcement taking place a short time ago. ENCA's Sandile Kangose was at the Supersport buildings in Johannesburg, Randburg, in fact, for that announcement. Sandile joining us live from Randburg. And Sandile, a lot of excitement now officially building ahead of that World Cup in Japan.
100%, especially in terms of the actual team selection, the World Cup squad selection. Absolutely no surprises in terms of that. But to my left, let me introduce the gentleman that I'm actually with, Kennedy Tsimba. He's the former Bulls and Cheetahs fly-off and one of 9 Hall of Famers in terms of the African continent. And of course, Simnegi Abanisa, who's a renowned rugby journalist and a man in danger of getting stabbed in the neck with a blunt pencil for his rugby opinions. But gentlemen, let's just get your opinions and your analysis of the squad. What does it look like? Do you like it? Is it beefed up? How does it look? Sim, if I can start with you first.
It's a very strong squad. You know, the buzzword in international circles now is depth. The impressive thing that Rassie Erasmus has been able to do is to build depth and to build competition. You know, earlier I was talking about which front row is he going to go with. He's got those options simply because he's built not only depth, but he's also built competition within those guys. You know, there's no sort of clear first choices and second choices. You've got one squad, everyone's aiming to play. Granted, you know, when the time comes, everyone will know that they're not necessarily going to play. And the other sort of interesting thing is that, you know, we talk about it being a boring squad announcement, as in it was expected. That I like boring squads for one thing and one thing only. You know, what it means is, you know, if you look at all the teams that have won the World Cup before, they all knew who they all knew who their first team was. And in the last 18 months, I think the one thing, you know, the Springboks have worked quite hard towards and sort of secured is an identifiable sort of starting 15, and then from then on all bets are off. So I quite like it. It's a strong squad. It's probably a squad still in development. Yeah. But you know, right here, right now, let me put it this way: when we were losing to Italy or
not so long ago,
or Argentina, would you have imagined being this comfortable with a Springbok squad? And the simple answer is no. So if that's the case, then it's almost a miracle that, you know, we're where we are.
100%. Just in terms of that short turnaround from the horror Alistair Coetzee era into almost just fast forwarding into Rassie Erasmus and him able, you know, to basically put out 2 squads and build depth into the national setup. If I can bring Kennedy into it, just in terms of that squad, is there anybody who you reckon is lucky to make it? Somebody you thought should have been in there, maybe? Your thoughts?
I think it's generally, for me, there's no qualms. I think those who are unlucky to make it didn't deserve to go. I think this is a perfect squad. We do have some potential players that could have made it, but obviously not knowing what type of plan Rassie wants to use, you can't always, you know, it's difficult to comment. But for me, it's a satisfactory squad. Like I say, looking at other squads, whether it's England or Wales or New Zealand, I think they've got some real tough selections to make, and that's something we haven't had to worry about. And I think that's always a positive at this stage of the preparations of the World Cup.
100%. If I can just come back to, in terms of the squad, would you have, if you were in Rassie's shoes, would you have blooded maybe 1 or 2 youngsters, possibly 1, not to start, but just to get that experience going forward?
Oh, definitely. I'm all about the future because I believe you prepare for the future to get good results in the next World Cup. And I think people realize England at their own World Cup were almost 4 years too early, and I think this is the team where these youngsters that dominated the under-20 tournament for 2 or 3 years have now become mature, and they've got a great depth of selection dilemmas to go forth. So I think for me, you get some of those youngsters and they can play against Namibia. I think, you know, those are games that you surely can get some of these boys playing in, and just getting some of the vibe that some of these experienced players like Skalk and Dwayne, and just getting, you know, some of that touring and being under pressure, and just being on the side of the field where there's a pressure game in a semi-final or a final. You come back with so much intel, and that builds well for the future.
100%. Appreciate your thoughts and your time, gentlemen. That's, of course, Sinigiwa Abanisa and, of course, Kennedy Zimba joining us. And, of course, the big news, the takeaway from the squad announcement is that Reynard Elstad misses out on that 31-man squad that will travel to Japan. They'll take on the All Blacks in their first pool stage, and that's the game that everybody has their eyes fixed on. Over to you, Tim McGee.
Sandile Kanqosa live for us in Randburg this afternoon. For now, thank you.